Hi everyone, Flo from Off to Lens here, and today I want to talk about the BMPCC6K PRO and more specifically about using it as a documentary camera. I have recently shot 2 documentaries with it, so I thought I would share my thoughts and experience as I originally did not intend to use the 6K PRO for that type of work. As always, before I start, don't forget to subscribe to see more videos like this one, and let's get into it. This video is sponsored by Filmconvert. So first of all, this is not a review. I've already made one after using the camera for a year, so feel free to watch it. It'll be linked in the description below. So when the 6K PRO was first announced, I thought it would be the perfect camera for me since I do a lot of documentary work. The features it has on top of the regular 6K were perfect for that type of work. The tiltable screen, the internal lenses, the bigger batteries, and the ability to use a viewfinder and a grip. To give you an idea of the cameras that I've used since I started making documentaries, the list goes like this. The Canon 5D Mark III, the Canon C100 Mark II, the Ursa Mini Pro G1, the Canon C200, and the BMPCC6K. I think it's also important that I talk briefly about the type of documentaries that I do. So most of my documentary work consists of filming outdoors, and it could be in the mountains or near the ocean, but I also do film indoors and especially projects that revolve around craft. I always prefer to have an organic and natural approach, and I also shoot on my own a lot, which is one of the big reasons I found the 6K PRO to be very useful. As I was saying before, I didn't originally intend to use the 6K PRO as a documentary camera. I thought I would when they announced it, but then I started using it, and the more I used it, I thought I would keep it for travel and personal content. For a few years now, every time I've shot a documentary, I've been using my regular 6K fully rigged up with a monitor, battery pack, matte box, etc. And I love that setup. The reason I prefer to rig up the regular 6K is once I add up all the accessories, I actually don't really need the Pro features of the 6K PRO anymore, so I prefer to save weight and size. So I prefer to use the 6K PRO as a travel and personal camera because having internal lenses, bigger batteries, and a tiltable screen actually means that I don't need to bring anything else. So even if the camera is technically bigger, there's nothing else to add. I took it to Iceland, to Paris, to the ocean, around the Alps, and I loved it. So earlier this year, I decided to shoot a documentary about my sister and her love for the outdoors. The project included filming her running, hiking, cycling, and paragliding. So I fully intended to use the rigged 6K, but I quickly realized that the 6K PRO would be much easier to use. And by that time I had been using the 6K PRO for more than a year pretty much every week, so I kinda knew its limitations and strength. We shot the sunset scene first and it went really well. I was able to be super quick, the kit was light and I didn't run out of batteries. The next day I put the Pro on a gimbal to be able to film my sister cycling, and the shots actually turned out pretty well considering the setup. The screen really helped in that case, especially when I was shooting underslung, because I would have not been able to use a regular 6K without a monitor, for example. We only had 2 days to shoot this, so not having to swap NDs, for example, and not having to carry lots of gear made the shoot actually possible. Speed is very important in documentary work, and the more gear you carry, the slower you are, especially as a solo filmmaker in the mountains. Feel free to watch my cinematography breakdown of the documentary, again, it'll be listed below. When I shot that surf documentary, for example, I was outdoors a lot and I was using the fully rigged up 6K, but I wasn't moving nearly as much as I was with my sister. When I was with my sister, the 6K PRO felt like using a big DSLR and it was perfect for the job. I basically used the camera the same way I would use it for travel content, which is great. Then a few weeks ago another documentary shoot came up, and this time I decided to bring the 2 cameras just in case, so the 6K and the 6K PRO. For this one, there were 2 of us shooting. So this one was a one-day shoot in a winery, so we didn't really move as much, and I initially intended to use a fully rigged up 6K for most of the shoot. What happened is I actually started to film with the 6K PRO because the first few shots that I needed to capture was super quick and handheld. And as the day progressed, we had to shift a few things around, and I quickly realized that the Pro would be a lot easier to use because it was the quicker option. I actually also used it for the interview, plugged in of course, because the time we had to set up the interview went from 45 minutes to 25 minutes and the Pro was already ready. Also on a side note, having dual XLR inputs on the 6K PRO can be very handy for interviews compared to the 6K. On this shoot I happened to bring my Easy Rig with me as well because again I thought I'd be using my full 6K rigged up. I didn't, but I still used the Easy Rig with a Sigma 18-35 on a 6K PRO. Again, not having to swap NDs or use a monitor with extra batteries or cables saved us a lot of time in that case. And don't get me wrong, I do prefer to use a monitor and proper R&D filters, for example, but of course if that means that I'm actually losing a shot or might not get the opportunity to get some shots, for documentary work, story and coverage come first, so the Pro was the more logical option. And now a quick word about today's sponsor, Filmconvert. As with most of my work, all the footage you've seen in this video was graded using Filmconvert. I've talked about it on the channel many times before, but essentially Filmconvert enables you to add film color and grain to your videos. There are nearly 20 film stocks to choose from, and you have real film grain, which gives you that authentic and organic look. Pretty much all my travel and documentary work has been graded using Filmconvert, and I've been doing so for the past 8 years. Earlier this year I also made a dedicated video where I discussed my color grading process, so feel free to watch it, and be sure to check out the link in the description to get 10% off. Now the 6K Pro isn't perfect for that type of work by any means. It is a great product, especially for the price, but it does have some limitations. So for example, the internal lenses are very handy, but they are obviously not as high quality as my Nisi R&D cinema filters, so if I do have the time and space, I prefer to use the Nisi ones. Next is the batteries. They're bigger, being NPF, yes, so you can shoot nearly close to an hour, but of course using a battery pack is always a safer option. And also, whilst the screen is very useful to have, the placement and orientation might not always work. Also, when the 6K was announced, I was so excited to be able to use the viewfinder and the grip, and to be completely honest with you, I haven't used them as much as I thought. And the main reason behind this is because I like the cage and the top handle that I have, so I prefer to use the camera as is. So after using the 6K Pro on a few documentaries, I can safely say that it can get the job done, and in some cases make it easier and actually possible. If time and budget allows, I will always prefer to use my regular 6K fully rigged up, as it is a better setup overall, but with documentary work you never know what will happen and things can change last minute. When you can't control things or when you need to be super nimble or quick, the 6K Pro does a very good job because it can be used as is straight out of the box with little to no rigging at all. That's it for me for today, guys. Please like this video if you did, and I would actually love to hear your experience as well. If you happen to own the two cameras, the 6K and the 6K Pro, which one would you pick for documentary work? And if you happen to own the 6K Pro, do you use it for documentary work? And also happy holidays and Merry Christmas, and as always, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. Also feel free to check out my new ebook, Freelance Documentary Filmmaking, an Introduction, where you can find a streamlined but comprehensive overview from pre-production all the way to marketing, built on years of my own experience shooting short documentaries around the world.